You know, when it's Tuesday, it's all about the docket Mtuangu Power, our resident analyst hapa hivi na political pundits. Inakuwa namna gani?
Tuko vizuri.
Jana tuli celebrate Mashujaa. But I love what one of the dailies amesema. On Sunday we buried a hero, and yesterday took a feed hypocrites. One of the papers imesema hivyo since his passing on. Fanya mambo, what's your summary of everything that went on since the news that Baba was no more?
I think for us the biggest challenge as a nation is to draw the line between mourning and mannerlessness.
Yes.
Because I accept that we are intrinsically different. I mean, the difference between a Luo man and a Kikuyu man.
Small English, intrinsically.
And every other person is really huge.
Yes.
But I remember when they were removing his body from the plane and the military had paraded just to give him honor.
Yeah.
Some fools, and I'll call them fools, denied him that honor because they interrupted the military, and that did not happen. As to how they mourn is okay, but sometimes we need to draw a line between mourning and mannerlessness.
Yeah.
Once they had laid the flowers, the gravesite was looking beautiful. And then again, a few fools went there and desecrated the whole place. Because kuna mawe ingine ilikuwa beautiful, imeandikwa jina baba. By the time those guys were done with that flower, and the way they had a stampede around that place and stepped on his grave, I don't think that is mourning. That is disrespect. So I think that even as we respect how communities mourn, I mean, let us also have respect for the family, and let us also have respect for the person that was Raila Amolo Odinga. I think for me the lowest moment was when after the burial they stormed into the compound. Alafu uliona wale wamepanda huko juu ya roof ya ile kitu ya Jaramogi. I mean, how are you mourning when you're on top of that thing? What nonsense is that?
Yeah.
So for me, I feel that people now needs to start being measured and to know that there's a huge difference between mourning and utter mannerlessness and disrespect for the dead.
For the Raila that we knew, I would say, of course, everyone was shocked, took huzunika. But for the Raila that we knew, the country rose up to the occasion. And every other person that believed in Raila Odinga rose up to the occasion. We may have had mishaps here and there in terms of how the program ran from the airport to when he was to be buried. Yeah. Because on several occasions, whatever had been programmed had to be vacated and a new plan put in place because of the prevailing circumstances. For instance, when he was supposed to be at Bunge, when he was from the airport, we couldn't have him at Bunge. We had to go to Kasarani. And when we knew he was to be at his home, it couldn't happen. He woke up at Bunge. And then when we thought he would go by road to Bondo, that could not happen. He was airlifted. And a lot of things that didn't go because of how they were planned because of the prevailing circumstances. No one is yet to explain to Kenyans. Yeah. Or maybe he never put it out there why he wanted to be buried within 72 hours. But I want to believe this is one person who understood his followers, who understood the movement that he led, and he knew. I am very sure he knew he had foreseen some of these things. I'm imagining if we had gone beyond the 72 hours, like it is for a normal Westerner to mourn, we would go up to 2 weeks or even beyond. For someone like Raila, people would have wanted to go, would have waited for those that are in America and to jet back. Yeah. And I do not want to imagine the kind of chaos we would have witnessed if that had gone on. But I think in his wisdom, understanding that there will come this day that he will have to live, and he has to organize and ensure that it is what he would want it to be, a befitting send-off. He left us with those instructions, and we have tried to make the best out of the 72 hours, and pretty much almost got it, except for These hypocrites that we are now witnessing. May his soul rest in peace.
You know, we had rumors that Baba was sick. The others who are, other people who are even saying that Baba is already dead. But when the news came in on that Wednesday morning, it was devastating to most of the people. And I just want to say that, you know, to some people, Baba was not just, he was not human. He was a god. There are people who believe that Baba will.
He was immortal.
There are people who believe that Baba alikuanga inzi anatani kuwa inzi, so he wouldn't die. And it was such a serious thing. And so for you to hear news that Baba has left, and you confirm that really Baba has left, I want to just tell Fanyamambo that he should just bear with us. That some of that's how we mourn. That's just us. And some of, you know, we saw the culture of the Luo people. You know, when Wamalwa died, we saw the culture of the Luya people, and people are saying that, oh, Luyas are we have some backward culture, we have some what, but now you've seen the culture of the Luo people. That's how they mourn.
Yeah.
They express themselves, and for you to, you know, for you to see somebody that you never thought that is going to die dead, it devastates you. And when he was buried and they were coming, and you know what Fanyamambo is saying, they were destroying the wreaths that were laid there.
Yes,
that's also part of the culture. That's what they call terobu. You know, you chase away the spirits of whatever that may have led to the death of somebody that you loved. And so Kenya is wasa without Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, and because you know, since I was a young boy until now, there has been one name that has been constant in Kenyan politics, Raila Amolo Odinga. You know, Moi came and left, Raila was still there. Kibaki came and left, Raila was still there. Uhuru came and left, Raila was still there. Ruto is now here, Raila has been here. And so it's going to be a very big loss politically for many people in the country. Those who hated him, because there are those who hated him and they were elected because they hated him. You know, you are elected because the more you insult Raila, the more votes you get.
Yeah. And
there are those who loved him, whatever, in spite of the fact that you have done nothing for the last 5 years. If Raila carried your hand up and said, "So we are Metosha," you will be elected. Mm-hmm. And so, like Junet said, there are lots and lots of orphans that Raila has left politically, and even the supporters. You know, there are people. I don't think there's any politician right now who has remained who can call for a holiday and people honor the holiday. It's only Raila who could
only
do that.
Gen Zs.
Maybe Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Gen Zs are never organized on one person. They are diverse. You know,
leaderless.
Yes. And so it's going to be a big loss for the country. We might just know that after one or two things happen, when we feel that the government is doing something that is pinching us and there's no voice to speak for us, that's when we will know how big a loss Raila is.
Okay. Kenya lived in the twin wing of Raila mania and Raila phobia. Do you think things will ever be the same again after the passing on of Raila?
No, things will
politically
never be,
speaking.
Things will never be the same again, and not just politically, even culturally and socially. Let me explain. Uko kwetu Dagoretti, there's
South.
a man, yes, Dagoretti South, there's a man who was called Wanye. Wanye owned the bulk of that side of Dagoretti. He has a lot of land to date, you know, rather his family. Now, he was in charge of urban planning. When we were young, okay, or rather when he died, alikuwa amesema azikwe Lang'ata. Now, to the Kikuyus, watu wenye walikuwa nazikwa Lang'ata ni wale watu walikuwa maskini wenye hawana shamba,
hawana
mahali ya kuzikwa, ndio walikuwa nazikwa Lang'ata.
Yeah.
But here comes a guy whose problem is not land. He has a lot of land.
Yeah.
And he says, nataka kuzikwa Lang'ata. Do you know that changed things? Because even wale walikuwa naringa ati niko na eka moja, niko na eka mbili, wanasema siwezi zikwa Lang'ata, wakaanza kusema kama Wanyena ndio alikuwa mwenye shamba kubwa,
yes,
amekubali kuzikwa Lang'ata na sisi je. It's the same thing with Raila Amolo Odinga. He comes and says, I am one guy that people should even mourn for a month. People would not mind mourning Raila even for 2 months, but he says it, I want to be buried within 72 hours. Why? because he's understood the culture of his people. And he's understood that to some extent it was retrogressive. To some extent it was not right. To some extent it impoverished families. Wanakuja wanakula mbuzi zenyu, ng'ombe zenyu, wanashinda huko kwenyu wakiwasumbua. So he says, bury me within 72 hours. So what will happen socially is that within the entire Luo nation, they'll start saying, kama baba with his stature anaweza zikwa na 72 hours. Sisi na ni maskini, mbona tuko na maringo tunafanya matanga ya 14 days.
I see.
Wataanza kusema kama baba with all his money and all his stature and all his fame anaweza zikwa na siku 3. Ni sisi tu. So that will change how people think socially. And I thank God for the late Wanye, because he made Kikuyus who used to say Langata ni ya maskini na wala wana shamba. He made them start seeing that a man who owned a lot of land and a man who was wealthy could be buried in Langata. So Baba has changed the dynamics. Politics without Baba is going to be different. One, Junet Mohammed is self-appointed him now as the chairman of all the orphans. Because for sure, I don't think Junet Mohammed is going to be re-elected in Migori again. Never.
Imeisha.
Because, si wataambiwa we ni Msomali. You know, he survived because Baba gave him the ODM ticket. Now there's no Baba to give him the ODM ticket. Kasipul Kabondo is going to change. You remember, people were not very keen on having Were as the ODM candidate. In fact, it was violent. Unakumbuka zile maprado zilivunjwa madirisha, the number of people who were maimed and the number of people who were hurt because of the Kasipul ODM nominations. It tells you that people had a different candidate in mind, but this was forced upon them. Now Baba is gone. There are certain MCAs who wouldn't openly campaign against ODM because they need the ODM ticket. There are certain influential people who thought that they will need the ODM ticket for MP and governor and senator and everything else in that region. Now, it is free for all. So a lot of things are going to change politically. A lot of people were mourning. They were not mourning Baba, by the way. They didn't care.
Their political future.
No, they were mourning because of their political future. So our mambo ya imeisha. But most importantly and lastly, I saw them trying to push a terrible narrative.
Which is?
And the terrible narrative they were trying to push is the narrative of... They were trying to push the terrible narrative of everybody was left in broad-based by Baba. And so they want everybody to remain in broad-based. Now, you saw how that sat in with people. Wanakuja, by the way, they were shouting like Mbadi. I told you, Mbadi, increase the content of what you are saying, not the volume.
Yes.
Yanakaa tu hapo wanasikia ni kama hawasikia anaongeza volume, but what he's saying is terrible. Sifuna comes, he's not even in a suit and tie, he's in a t-shirt. And he says, kusimama tu hata jina Sifuna kutajwa, people are happy because it tells you where the hearts of the people are. Hii kitu ya broad-based, hata mkijaribu waje kuipush kwa watu wa Nyanza, it's not going to work. They even calculated so that most of the speakers would come and speak about that broad-based nonsense. Sifuna comes, he's the singular voice that says, look here, we are going to listen to these people. And where they lead us, we shall go. Remember, this is a Luya in Luo land being received with more love and appreciation than Luos who are shouting on microphones, wearing suits and trying to show how close they were to Baba. Everybody was close to Baba the last minute. Paka unasikia mwingine hapo anaitwa Oparanya. Anasema mimi ndio nilikuwa barafiki ya Baba kuliko watu wote. Yani that stupid competition ya kuonyeshana ati wewe ulikuwa na Baba ya mwisho, wewe ndio ulikuwa closest. It's nonsense. The truth is that Luo Nyanza is not in broad-based. Their leaders are protecting their bread. Mwingine akakuja huyu minister anaitwa nani? This is the one who was nominated.
Badi.
Yo.
No, there's this other one. He didn't even remember to eulogize Baba. He was just praising Ruto from when he started to when he finished. Yes, Wandai. He was just speaking about Ruto and thanking him. Yani he was there to protect his daily bread. Yeah. Nyinyi hamukutafuta hii serikali, by the way. Na nyinyi mnaambia watu juu ya hii serikali. You guys opposed to this government. You are diametrically completely opposed to this government. Nyinyi ndio mlikuwa mnasema Baba morning to evening. You lost the election. Now you're in a government yenye mliingia kwa dirisha na nyinyi ndio mnaambia kila mtu ati government ni mzuri. Na mlikuwa mnaambia watu Ruto hawezi kuwa president. Come on, can you stop being selfish?
Ruto akabonga akasema ODM will be part of government or will be government come 2027.
Yesterday during the Mashujaa Day in Kisii, that is Simbarati, saying, inviting President William Ruto to come rejoin ODM, so that he is made the flag bearer of the party into 2027.
Yeah.
The president also said things yesterday that he will help ODM take power or form a coalition that will form government.
Yeah.
You saw Winnie Odinga saying, and Your Excellency, in case you're wondering, I am ready to come back and serve my people. There are those that are already speculating how he will come into ODM and even make Winnie Odinga his running mate.
Or running mate.
His running mate.
Just
as a way of kurudisha mkono and appeasing all those fans of Baba. But those are just speculations and people speaking their minds on how they interpret some of these things that happened during the burial of Baba.
Okay.
But it is so possible that President William Ruto may take advantage of whatever is happening. However, you see, the problem is he may bring every other person in government the way he wants, so that it looks like it is really broad. But if the people you're bringing in government you bring someone in government and they begin immediately telling people how they're in government and thoraxing about two-term, instead of now telling that president that, okay, you've brought us in, but let us talk to the people.
Yeah.
If that is not going to change, if everyone you bring in government is singing that choir of two-term and forgetting the people who are supposed to make you two-term,
yeah,
that is where you're getting wrong. Let them that are coming into this government, if they are coming,
come with a message from the people.
Yes, tell you, Mr. President, thank you for having brought us on board, but can we now listen to the people? The same message Sifuna told the ODM. Can we now listen to the people? What are they saying?
Should we just let Baba rest in peace and his legacy goes with him, or must we continue his legacy? And is there anyone who can actually get that baton and push it the way Baba wanted to push it?
Igunza, fact is that Baba was a politician, and there was nothing you would have expected in his funeral other than politics. And so all those politicians were speaking politics. It was expected. Another fact is that Baba left ODM in broad-based government. That's a fact. You cannot deny it. And so those who are saying that Baba left us in broad-based were also right. Another fact is that there have been tension and competing interest in ODM between those who want broad-based and those who don't want broad-based. It was obvious even when Baba was still alive. We saw Sifuna speaking to President William Ruto severally over the need, the fact that ODM would not support Ruto in 2027. And we saw Pio and and Gladys Wanga, even when Baba was alive, saying that we are going to support President William Ruto in 2027, until the last address of Baba at Agile Hotel on Mombasa Road. Baba said, stop this nonsense. Who told you that ODM is not going to have a candidate in 2027? He said, he asked, who told you? And so all those things, all those politicians who are speaking, actually, they were right in one way or another, because they were right that Baba left them in broad-based. Sifuna was right that Baba asked who told you that
won't have a candidate.
Is not going to have a candidate. And so all those competing interests, I expected them to happen. It is only that it happened too soon. I would have thought that being a solemn occasion, that they are going to focus on celebrating Baba's life and start, playing politics later. But the politics, I expected them to come. And I expect, Murutu is saying maybe, I know that from that day when Baba was laid to rest, the party leader of ODM is one William Samoei Arap Ruto. That's the party leader of ODM.
Really?
And he's the party leader of UDA. and so when you hear him saying, I will not allow anybody to come and take ODM to go and play with it, siasa za upinzani huko, he has already assumed the leadership of that party. and in ODM there's nobody strong enough to
fit.
As in to resist President William Ruto's maneuvers to take over the ODM party. And so from I expect that Sifuna is going to be chased out of that party very soon. Sifuna and the people who think like him, even Ososi was trying to play hot and cold,
Like
but
Babu.
I expect him to be thrown out. Babu Wino, I expect them to be thrown out of that party, or they draw the line.
Support MP.
Yes, Akina Caleb Amisi either draw the line or go out. Even Simba Arati Kisii governor, he's still blowing hot and cold. He doesn't know whether he supports the broad-based or whether he supports the other they call it themselves the progressive thinkers of the party. And so I expect that going forward, they are going to be very serious and bloody a contest in ODM to try and fight for this one Chungwa. I would not be surprised if you have Chungwa Asili or Chungwa, Mpia or something. Just like it happened to Ford Kenya, just like it has happened to other parties when their leaders die. And so I expect that this is going to be a very, very serious fight for the orange. And I fear that the people who control the party have already made up their mind. Apart from Raila, who was controlling the party, if you see the people who are controlling the party right now, Oburu Odinga, Gladys Wanga, Junet Mohammed, the oligarchs of the party are leaning towards the broad-based. And so, and the person who was protecting Sifuna and his ilk is Raila Amolo Odinga, who is already gone. And I would think that Sifuna will be naive to imagine that he's going to be in that party for long enough, because even as an SG, I think he's going to be kicked out, because they will tell him, you either align or leave.
Step out.
Shape up
or ship out.
According to recent reports, the Orange Democratic Movement claims that the National Treasury Kenya owes 12.6 billion in unpaid political party funding to ODM. If you just want ODM to take a very new life of its own, give them even this 5 billion out of the 12. Yeke uko ndani. There are people who are thinking about leaving ODM. I sometimes don't like advising William Ruto because he's my adversary. But if I was him, I would just give them what is owed to them. We owe them 12.6 billion, yeke ndani ya ODM. And then sit
Malumbano.
Watch the drama. Watch what will happen in that party. It will be magic. That 12 billion, the things it's going to do within ODM, only God knows. Na unajua unasema innocently, mimi nimewapatia pesa yenyu, which we owe you anyway. The government from the political parties funding owes ODM about 12.6 billion. So that's what they need to do. Give them that money and then now watch the party do its thing. But I also think secondly, and this is critical, is nobody stopped speaking about Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, the biggest player in this game now is Uhuru. Look at what happened when he came to Nyayo Stadium. Just the mere mention of Uhuru's name. Mpaka anatuliza watu so that he can start
speaking. And right?
He took over 1 minute just trying to tell people Asante, Asante, Asante before he can start speaking. Because the people of the Luo nation know that Uhuru is the last true and the last genuine friend that Raila had. Even in marriage of convenience.
Because when you say last true,
Uhuru held Raila's hand and told him, I want to make you president.
2022.
Uhuru financed Raila's campaigns. Uhuru honestly did mean well when he said that I am going to stand with Raila Amolo Odinga. Tumpatie umze kura. So alimuombea kura. So Uhuru meant well, and the Luo nation is aware, and they are never ungrateful. So they wanted to show that they are grateful to Uhuru, and they know he means well. But look at the other thing. Kalonzo Musyoka walks into that stadium. What does Uhuru do? Uhuru wakes up and walks towards Kalonzo. It's not the other way around. He goes to where Kalonzo is, he greets him, and they share a moment. Then he comes back and sits down. Uhuru is telling you, this here is my presidential candidate. But this is how Matiang'i ni candidate wa Uhuru Kenyatta. Siblings can have problems. I'm telling you for free. Uhuru Kenyatta is the one who is pushing Matiang'i Jubilee. But Uhuru Kenyatta, ni vile hajaongea, his heart is with Kalonzo Musyoka. Yesterday Uhuru spent the whole day with
the family ya Odinga.
Yeah. Why do you think Uhuru is there? is because he's trying to tell the family, by the way, maneno Ruto amesema huku mimi sijui imetoka wapi. Mpaka anasema ati tulikaa tukaongea ati mimi niko kwa broad based. Uhuru is not in broad based. Uhuru has never supported Ruto. Uhuru has always made it clear that his leader is Raila Amolo Odinga. So Uhuru remains behind. And I can tell you, the things Uhuru discussed with Oburu and his family, the day they'll come out, you will see. I think Kenyans need to just start preparing tomorrow morning
To do
for
what?
Kalonzo presidency. I am telling you this, I want you to mark this date. Everybody who is out there, start preparing for a Kalonzo presidency. This is Kalonzo's moment. I don't hold brief for him, but I'm telling you for free. Me, from the things I have seen and how things are going to happen,
Kalonzo is the next president.
Kalonzo is going to be the 6th in 2027. And finally, the Gen Zs,
Yeah.
I wish they had had an opportunity with Raila to mend fences. You know, Raila Odinga died when they had not forgiven each other with Gen Zs.
Yeah.
And just like Chebukati, Gen Zs wrote very many funny things. You know, these people write what they want on their walls about Raila.
Yeah.
It was not all mess. It was not all rosy. Not everybody was celebrating his death. There are very many young people who woke up and they portrayed him as a betrayer of the cause of the Gen Zs. So as you speak about Raila Amolo Odinga, and people are saying he left the Luo nation in broad-based, my friend, these are 1.5 million votes. Any person who is using common sense should have been saying, where will the 6 million Gen Z votes be? You can argue they haven't picked up their voters' cards, but I'll tell you they will. And I tell you they'll have those votes. I think the question we should be asking ourselves is, are you so keen on the Luo vote that you forget the Gen Zs? If I was here and having a conversation, I wouldn't be speaking regional. And wanasema, oh, sisi tuliachwa, nyinyi ni wajinga. Stop thinking about where the Luos will vote. Start thinking about where the Gen Zs will vote. Because there's no single community, okay, other than Gema, that can guarantee you 6 million votes. The only community that is a basket that anybody should be keen on is the Gen Z community. And asking these 6 million votes that IEBC is saying, where will they go? And by the way, sahi ndio wako 6 million. The whole of 2025, kuna wale wako shule sahi wanamaliza, na 2026 wenye watamaliza. So the last voter registration, which is going to happen around 2026 or early 2027, will nap in another 2 million.
So
wale 1 million
million.
wanamaliza form 4 sahi, na another 1 million, because every year wanamalizanga 1 million. Another 1 million, of course, used to be a million, na tangu, and this government stopped giving capitation to schools. Sasa wafiki 1 million, kuna kama 80 and 90,000 wana drop out.
Yeah.
But add 2 million to the 6 million. 8 million. So the president who won got how many million? 7 million. You have a constituency bigger than the votes Raila got. You have a constituency bigger than the votes Ruto got. And you are busy here talking sijui kura za Wajaluo, kura za Wakamba, kura za Wakisi. Enye ujinga ina dawa.
So story ya Wamunyoro imeishi hapo. Nisasikia ukimtaja.
Story ya Wamunyoro ijaisha. This life has got seasons. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, 17th of October marked exactly 1 year since they impeached him. That was the day when leaders were meeting in parliament to honor the remains of the late Raila Amolo Odinga. If Wamunyoro had walked into that parliament, what do you think would have been going on in that? Fact, hiyo ndio siku alipelekwa Karen Hospital. So and then anaona the people who stabbed him and betrayed him wako hapo wanajifanya wanaona Raila. Do you think it would have been a comfortable place for him? I think there's one thing that Wamunyoro is able to do that many people are not able to do. To be fit in his own skin and to stop pretending. Let me tell you, Raila Amolo Odinga marshaled his troops, all his MPs, save for Babu Owino and I don't know who else. And they all voted en masse to impeach him. So Raila's stab to Wamunyoro was more than 80 votes at parliament. And very many votes at Senate. I would have to calculate how many ODM senators were there. And then this is the exact anniversary of when I think even him, it would have taken a lot to come and say, you impeached me, you sent more than 80 people to vote against me, and I'm here pretending and saying that you are my friend. I don't think they died. He died when they were friends. They hadn't made amends. They hadn't forgiven one another. And I can tell you for free, if this was happening, let's say Raila died when he was just planning maandamano against Ruto, do you think Ruto would have given him a state funeral? Ile maandamano ya 2023. So let us not prepare. It's just that a season finds you on the wrong side of history. And this is a season that has found both parties on the wrong sides of history. I don't think this is a good time for him to have come and pretend. But then angeenda aje parliament. And then, you know, now, unfortunately, ODM writes a letter. So nakumbuka kile kibarua kibaya cha kusema ati wa mtu wa Munyoro ndio wanasema baba ni mgonjwa. And then Rigiji, in his characteristic way, he's a very good politician by the way. He comes, na unajua zake azinanga comeback. Munasema sisi tumefanya baba mgonjwa. Sisi ni bacteria, sisi ni virus. This was political banter. I mean, si wanarushiananga jabs. You know, unanigonga hii. Na wanakutananga bunge wanaambia, jana nilikugonga, ilikuwa noma, ulionaji? Hiyo ina comeback. So unfortunately, when this was said, then Baba is declared dead a short while later. To the political class, they would understand this is political banter. But to wananchi out there, hata angejaribu kutokea Nyayo Stadium, maybe even a stampede would have occurred. Maybe something bad would have happened. So I think it's good he kept off, because for the political class, that is banter. But for mwananchi, alisema baba, alisema virus, alisema bacteria. So I think it's just a bad season for him. But I've seen him say that a time is coming when he is going to visit Mama Aida and the family, which is what mourning is about. You can come. Unajua by the way, matanga ikiisha ndio matanga inaanzanga.
Ndio hiyo sasa.
Juu mnabakingi peke yenu, kila mtu ameenda.
Hapo ndio ina sync sasa.
So the best thing is, I think, as DCP and as him, will visit Baba's home. Just go to Mama Aida, either here in Karen or in Bondo. Mtaisikia tu kwa news muone tumekutana na Oburu Odinga and people have given their condolences.
Last session on docket, we spoke about Uhuru, and Fanyamambo was telling us how, you know, he's a retired president, and he wouldn't be so consequential.
Yes, influence yake.
Yeah, but clearly from his own words this morning, you can see that Uhuru Kenyatta is here to stay. You see, they are in almost an equal position, but he stands higher kidogo with the Wamunyoro in this sense that because Wamunyoro cannot vie, as we understand it, with the cases in court and stuff. So what they can do best for Kenyans is try shape out and shape up who will be or who could be the next leader in this country. And we now agree that they both have the muscle and the influence to do exactly that. So Uhuru Kenyatta is still on that chessboard. We cannot wish him away. The second, they say the day after the burial is when reality sinks into families, you know. And for Uhuru Kenyatta to have hung around Nyanza and make that appearance at the graveside of Baba the following day and spend the whole day as the Kenyattas with that family, again, he may have done it because this was his brother, his friend, his leader, because to the last day we have not seen him denounce Raila as him not being his leader from the time he proclaimed him as his leader.
Na alikuwa anakunywa uji pamoja.
Yes. So he may have been doing it as a brother, as this friend to his leader, but what has that done to Kenyans? He has even endeared more. Sasa inajua akipewa microphone, it will be even difficult for him to calm down the crowd as more than as it was at Nyayo, because right now people are seeing him differently. Akisimama pale Mlimani, akisimama pale Western, akisimama pale Coast, now he endears to everyone and every soul in Kenya. That aside, we are speaking about Kalonzo Musyoka. There are those that are saying Kalonzo wasted his opportunity when he rose to speak at the funeral. But I think they are pushing it too far for Kalonzo. One, Kalonzo was not asked to speak as an opposition leader. He rose as a former vice president. And he also read the mood. He did not want to get into the choir that had begun there. Ya kusema, sasa tunaangazia. He tried to be sensible enough. And if you ask me, what he said was good enough for him at that particular
What did he say?
occasion.
What did he say?
We can play you the clip if you want to hear what he said. But whatever he said was enough for him at that particular occasion.
So you agree with whatever he
The
said?
Joshua, particularly this Joshua
Narrative.
the Joshua analogy that he used, that Baba used to use, that he sitafika huko lakini he was simply saying mimi nitakamilisha hiyo safari. If people wanted to get anything closer to that, that was the closest Kalonzo would come. Yes, Kalonzo is going to be a force to reckon, but it will depend on who are behind Kalonzo.
Unye. Fanya maba analyze zima ni unye.
Uhunye alone will not manage that.
No, Munyoro.
I'm talking about who is this running mate that Kalonzo will be given. That is the person that will determine how well Kalonzo will go into 2027 as a presidential candidate.
Igunza, do you believe that people are cheering Uhuru because they love him?
At Nyayo.
Wherever he starts up to speak, do you believe that they cheer him because they love him and they just voted against him the other day?
I'll tell you of my...
I want to believe that people cheer Uhuru because they hate Ruto more than they love Uhuru. Whatever is happening under this regime is worse than what was happening under Uhuru regime, and that's why people, they don't love him, but they hate Ruto more. And so, because I hate Ruto more, let me show Ruto that Uhuru was better than you.
Yeah.
And so I don't see it as love per se. I see it as trying to show
Condemning
Ruto,
the government.
trying to show Ruto the middle finger. And then you saw, excuse me, even at Nyayo, when the cheering happened to Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto was confused. He didn't even, he was just shouting at us in that speech of his. He just shouted and he never even.
But he sang.
He tried to sing. Wakamwambia enda imbe kanisa achane na hii ingine. And so I want to believe that politics is still early days to do politics, and for as long as it will appear that Uhuru is not with broad-based,
yeah,
Fanyamambo will praise him to the moon and back. But once if Ruto says that I'm talking to former President Uhuru Kenyatta, Fanyamambo will start throwing salvos at him here again. And so I don't believe that Uhuru is going to have any significant impact on the 2027 elections apart from the pass, ile pesa kufanyia namna hii. But I want to believe that the mountain is gone with Wamunyoro.
Okay.
And so there's nowhere else someone can control, Yeah.
We feel you. Unfortunately, we have to